From Faith Forward Media, this is Healthcare Musings. I'm Dr. Hashem Hasabala. Welcome to Healthcare Musings, everybody. Happy to have you with me. I am delighted to have back on the show America's cardiologist, Dr. Muhammad Allo. He and I go back a long, long time. He is a practicing cardiologist, lipid expert, exercise physiologist, health coach, just an all-around fantastic guy. Has doing amazing work online. I learned so much from him, and so when the new dietary guidelines came out, I liked them. I thought there was a lot of good things in there. I wanted to get his take, especially since he is my unofficial personal lipid expert. So he's gracious to come back on the show. Welcome, Dr. Allo. So happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I am licensed in Illinois, so if you need an actual doctor, I'll be more than happy to take care of you.
Fantastic. Done. I already bother you a lot with my stuff, so very happy
yeah, it's
to.
no problem. I meant like in an official capacity, like if you wanted some Crestor or something. Let me know. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I'll let you know. Absolutely. So
right. No,
let's go.
I do have quite a few like physician friends from Illinois still that do televisits with me, just because we've known each other for a long time, and they watch my stuff just like you said. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that you do television. I need a cardiologist, so we'll talk offline.
I'm kidding, but definitely kind of funny. It's funny that you brought it up because it just like it reminded me.
No, that's great. I think Dr. Allo knows what he's doing, and he also kind of breaks down the fluff and the things that come online. I love his stuff. We'll get into it. So the new dietary guidelines came out for the next 5 years. Yeah. It's depending on your ideology, you either love it or you're aghast, right? And yeah. I read it, and I think there's a lot of good things in it. So I really think there's a lot of good things in this thing. I read the other one. You had referenced it, the science, the Center for the Science and the Public Interest guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that one exists too. I don't know that I referenced it, but I decided to create my own guidelines. But like, how long do you have? Because we probably need to rewind a little bit about the process of how these are done.
We have about an hour before we have to end.
So just to like back up before we decide if these guidelines are good or not good, or like what opinion we have or don't have. I agree with you. There are definitely some things that are good in the guidelines, and a lot of it is just rebranded almost. These guys love rebranding things, but the process to develop these guidelines is a 5-year process. There's the 2020 to 2025 guidelines, and the 25 to 30, and then there's the 15 to 20. Every 5 years they come out with the new guidelines. It goes through like several processes. There's a group of like 400 scientists that meets, and it's called the committee of something, and then they present all the data and evidence, and they discuss it for 5 years. And the good news is that still exists. And then there's another committee that finally sits down and writes the guidelines in a way that's sort of understandable for regular everyday humans, and then they come up with the graphics and materials that they're going to promote or whatever. So it's a long process. What the new government HHS RFK or whatever his group of people did is they added like a regulatory committee on top of all this, that they wanted to put their final spin on whatever the committee comes up with. And so despite that, it's still a pretty rigorous process, and still the guidelines look almost exactly the same as they have almost for the last 20 years. If you go back to the 1940s and 50s and 60s, they didn't have exactly like the dietary guidelines we have now. They had like eat a little bit of this, eat some green and yellow vegetables, make sure you get enough fruit every day. Like they pretty much for the last, since the 1940s until now, the guidelines haven't been all that different. They've been saying it's like the Mediterranean diet, the stuff we always tell our patients to eat. The Mediterranean, DASH diet, very similar. The DASH diet is like the Mediterranean, but it's no alcohol, no salt. That's actually the top rated diet. The DASH diet is to reduce hypertension, obviously. So alcohol and salt are out of it. But it's basically a Mediterranean diet, just no alcohol, no salt. So what we've been telling people for, say, the last 100 years is to eat a mostly unprocessed, mostly natural food, like fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, legumes, lean meats, fish, olive oil, whatever, the usual suspects. We tell everyone to do this. So the guidelines haven't changed that much from it. And they haven't really, deviated that much. And we've always recommended, the American Heart Association, the College of Cardiology, even the last several iterations, going back to the 1980s, even of the dietary guidelines, we've always recommended saturated fat not to exceed 10% of total calories, which even this one does. Like if you actually read the printed guidelines that they printed, it actually says to keep saturated fat below 10%. So even though they tried to put their own spin on it and the marketing material didn't match what the guidelines said, it's still a robust process where there's 400 scientists, nutritionists, dietitians, cardiologists, physicians, probably pulmonologists too. But, there's a big group of people writing these guidelines, and it's a 400-page document. Like when it's actually printed, it's a 400-page document, and then they'd come up with the graphics and the spin, and is it going to be my plate or is it going to be a pyramid? The thing that this group, RFK and his folks, they're very like I don't know what the word is. They're abrasive. They're aggressive. They're like, yeah, we're going to throw everything else out. We're going to do it this way now. But then if you read the guidelines, it's almost essentially the same,
Exactly. Well, that's what I don't understand, why people were aghast because they put
there's
a
a few
steak
things.
and a whole milk at the top of the pyramid.
Right. There's a couple of
But
things.
if you read it,
The problem is nobody reads
sensible,
it.
I thought.
It's very sensible, and it's exactly almost what we've been saying. The problem is they have like this anti-food pyramid spin. I think they're trying to appeal to the, maybe lowest common denominator, a person out there that's like anti-government, anti-being healthy, and I just want to eat all the butter and beef and cheeseburgers, double cheeseburgers that I want, which is obviously insane. I mean, but it seems like they're trying to appeal to that crowd of people that's like anti-intellectualism, let's go back to our roots, let's eat like the mummies used to eat or the Neanderthals used to eat or ancient, foods, people, whatever, which is fine, but like they don't remember back when we were in the caves and back when we were mummies and Neanderthals, we literally lived to like 35. So like evolution doesn't care that you live past your reproductive years. The evolution wants you to
That's true.
produce kids, and then if you die from cancer, heart disease, who the hell cares? You already had kids, right? So evolution doesn't really care. Now with modern medicine, with the heart lab and we put stents in people and antiplatelet therapy, and you guys with your ICU care and propofol and prone, bed flipping, whatever, you guys do. Modern medicine has added, decades. We've tripled, we've doubled and almost even tripled lifespans. A 15-year-old in the year 1815, all the way up to 1900, but a 15-year-old, like you made it past infant mortality. A lot of people say, well, it's the infant mortality. You're not counting it. That's why everybody died, or the median age was 35. Right. But a 15-year-old who was alive in 1900 or 1850, their median age was still like 35, 38. So the chance of a 15-year-old, half of them would be dead. That's what median means. Half of them would be dead by 35, 38. But with modern medicine, we've been able to extend that. I mean, people are living to 100 now easily. And with these new weight loss meds that can now reduce the burden of chronic disease even further, almost effortlessly, you're going to have people. So we've been able to extend lifespans even with obesity rates going up, right? And cancer rates are, we're getting better at treating various cancers. People are living longer, even with a cancer diagnosis. And people with heart disease are not dying anymore. We bring almost everybody back. How many times in the ICU do you see a cardiac patient that had a heart attack actually die? It's not like the 1970s.
It's very rare now. Yeah. That's true.
Right. Like if you go back to the 50s and 60s and you talk to some older cardiologists, they're like, yeah, a guy comes in with a heart attack, we put him on some oxygen and some morphine, and we hope they're not dead by the morning. And like 80% of them would be dead by the morning. Now it's like incredibly rare. It's like the guy that has multi-vessel disease, PEA, cardiac arrest, and has just a whole slew of problems, never took care of himself, smoked his entire life with a cholesterol of, LDL of 200 or whatever, diabetic, just lived a rough life, never went to doctors, I never needed doctors. And he comes in like, 60 years of never seen doctors. These are the ones that have these massive PEA cardiac arrests, and they're very difficult to get back if you get lucky. So we're not seeing that very often. I think the biggest issue that people who have a problem with the new food pyramid is, first of all, they're like anti-food pyramid, but the food pyramid hasn't been in use like, 1993 is when the food pyramid came out. It's been like 30, maybe 40 years now. If I do the math, I don't know. It's been like over 30 years. They retired it, I believe, like 2000 something,
They
2008.
did, and they put a plate, and they said you
Yeah,
should fill your plate
2008. It
with.
was Obama came out in 2008. And those guidelines came out and they made a plate. They called it myplate.gov.
Right, right.
And it was essentially the same thing, like eat a little bit of lean meat, lots of fruits and vegetables, some whole grains, and some milk, right? Not
Hmm.
a whole lot of difference. I think the problem that people are having with this, the way they're doing it is, first off, you read it, it's 400 pages, and even the executive summary is long. So let's say you actually do read it, you're going to be like, yeah, we've known this for 100 years, no big deal. But the problem is they get on, the little sound bites on CNN are like, saturated fat has been demonized, and we've been fighting. You can eat all the saturated fat you want, and then the problem is in that top corner of the pyramid, which first of all, it's kind of weird. Like a pyramid's upside down; it's a triangle, really, more than a pyramid. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know if it's supposed to go sideways or up and down, or the points are good, but the middle is not, or you should eat more of the middle and less of the points. I don't know
I
because
think you're
it's not.
supposed to eat more of like the bulk of the triangle is what you're supposed to do. A little bit of grains, mostly fruits and vegetables, and then a little bit of the proteins on the top.
Oh, yeah,
And then
but
they
because
say
it
you can have meat and whole milk. You can cook with tallow rather than seed
right,
oil.
and I think that's the problem that people have with it is the marketing of it. They created this pyramid, which is fine. It looks fine. But the problem is the meat section is like a fatty ribeye. And you can actually see the white in the fat. It's
Yeah,
ground beef. It's like 80-20 ground beef. So like, and then a block of cheese and then like a thing of whole milk. So like essentially they're recommending that people eat ribeye, double cheeseburgers, and whole milk, like ice cream even. Like, I mean, I don't know what they're suggesting. But then they say like,
well,
oh, we're not
they're
gonna fight. We're
against.
not gonna fight
Yeah,
saturated fat anymore. Like, okay, then
well,
what are you
I
saying then?
mean,
It doesn't
I
match.
if you have a child that's growing, I mean, I'm less resistant or less hostile to whole milk for a
So
growing
whole
child.
milk, put whole milk aside because dairy, fermented dairy, especially like yogurts and kefir, lebne, kefir cheese, which is lebne. I mean, we've
Yeah.
eaten that. Obviously, anybody who's Mediterranean or Greek, knows what those are. Kefir cheese, lebne, fermented yogurt, most types of dairy.
So is the
Generally, they're
dairy fat or the saturated fat from dairy, is that different than coconut oil or different
It's a
than
little bit.
beef?
It is a little bit. So dairy, you could, especially liquid dairy, you could kind of put it aside. In most studies, it's mostly a neutral or negative effect. Like if you obviously eat, like if all you're drinking is whole milk, sure. First of all, it's a lot of calories. I mean, like
It
the
is a lot of
calories
calories.
are double to triple what they should be. Like 1% milk is pretty, lean. 2% is what most people drink, which is what I drink. And then 4% is whole milk. 4 or 5% fat is whole milk.
Right.
So it depends on what goal you're trying to accomplish. You got a really skinny kid that needs to gain weight. Yeah, feed them whole milk, chocolate milk, even throw a bunch of sugar and chocolate in there. No big deal. It depends on what your goals are. Like you can't have, super hard and steady rules. But like let's say we're talking adults here, right? A
Yeah.
normal
So like,
adult has some risk factors, a little bit overweight, a little bit of family history, whatever. Probably shouldn't be like chugging tons of whole milk, right? Like most of the
okay.
studies in adults have shown either a neutral effect or a negative effect from whole milk. So let's set like the milk aside.
When you say
That's
negative effect, you mean like on
like
LDL
raises
or
your
negative?
LDL, increases cardiovascular mortality, all-cause mortality, those kind of things.
Okay.
So
But
the
like,
studies
how
have
about cheese, like cheeses and things of that?
cheese with
They
cheese
keep
and
saying
other
it's different.
cheese and other saturated fats are basically just saturated fat, like butter, especially because of so if you take whole milk and process it and pound it and churn it and whatever you do, for whatever reason, the fatty acid profile changes and now it's very atherogenic. So
Oh,
butter is
really?
probably one of the most atherogenic types of fat you can have, but saturated fat is obviously the issue here because it raises LDL quite a bit in most people. If you're
It
eating a
did.
lot of
It did for
cheese,
me. It did. I was
absolutely. Oh, it
Mr.
did for me
Whole
too.
milk, full fat. I was cheese. I was having my coffee with heavy whipping cream for a while. Um, like a latte with heavy whipping cream. I
But
didn't
the
realize
problem, so if you're, I
how
don't know
many
if you're a coffee,
calories that was.
if you're not a coffee snob, the fattier the milk, the harder it is to froth up to a certain limit, right? So
Yeah.
obviously 1 or 2% can be frothed, but skim really is hard to froth. but 5% and like whole milk and heavy cream and half, it gets harder and harder to froth. I don't know what kind of coffee you're making,
No, usually
but
I have like a cafe au lait, like what I'm doing, again, I'm trying to minimize the saturated fat in my diet to try
so
to
I
just
mean, I use if I'm going to
maximize
use
because of the insulin resistance. That's what I'm most worried about is
saturated
insulin
fat
resistance.
absolutely increases insulin resistance. Like there's no question about that. So that's
Yeah,
another problem with saturated fat because saturated fat has a high propensity to be stored in your liver and cause insulin resistance, even at the liver level, which then causes, basically insulin resistance everywhere. And it's very pro-inflammatory. The inflammatory markers always go up with saturated fat. There's no study that has shown that increasing saturated fat reduces inflammatory markers at all. Now
really.
it gets a little tricky because let's say you
Well,
cut
inflammation is the
calories.
big keyword.
If
Oh,
you
it's like
cut Absolutely. If you cut calories significantly and you're losing weight, inflammatory levels are going to go down. The number one cause of high inflammatory markers is usually obesity. So if you're cutting
yeah.
calories but eating more saturated fat, which is kind of hard to do, but I'm just throwing some nuance in there. Let's say you're eating only 1,200 calories a day, but a lot more saturated fat than before. Because you're losing weight, your inflammatory markers are going to go down. I don't know that that study's been done where like if we still crank up the saturated fat, how much you could get it to stay high or keep your CRP or SED rate or IL-6, IL-1, TNF alpha, whatever elevated. I don't know. I don't know that that study's been done. But
Hmm.
adiposity or being fat definitely is what raises various inflammatory markers. I mean, there's genetic variation, so it depends on the person. But vast majority of people, if you are carrying around more weight, more fat tissue, you're going to have higher inflammatory markers. So it gets a little tricky there. But I think like if you look at the actual picture, which is what most people are going to do, they're going to see a ribeye, a block of cheese, some
Yeah,
ground beef, and I don't know if there was bacon on there or not. I don't remember. But like basically, you're telling people to eat ribs or like ribeye and double cheeseburgers with cheese and ribs and like fatty beef. And then they say, well, you should use tallow and ghee or whatever they recommended to cook with. Like first of all, that's insane. Like there, all the studies using tallow and ghee and lard. Lard is the same thing. Lard is like fat from a pig, and tallow is fat from a cow.
right.
But all the studies using that have shown, high inflammatory, increases inflammatory markers and much higher levels of LDL cholesterol. So I don't know why they wouldn't just say, just use olive oil. Like that's not a debate. No one on earth
Well,
would be
but
like,
you can't fry in olive oil as much because of the smoking point. Avocado
yeah, but
oil
you
is
can use
typically,
avocado and you can use canola oil. Like you could use whatever. Oh, and
well,
that's the other thing.
they're
They're
very against seed oils.
anti-seed. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and for a while there, I was like, seed oil, oh, stay away from seed oil, until I realized it's more like guilt by association, right? And really, the seed oil, it's a lot of
You're right. I
polyunsaturated
think
fat and
that's the
monounsaturated
reason.
fat.
The reason they're anti, yeah, that's probably why they recommended the tallow and lard and whatever, because they're so anti-seed oil. But yeah, the smoke point in like peanut oil, for example, or avocado oil is pretty high. It's much higher than olive oil. I
Olive
don't
oil.
ever fry anything, so I don't know why. I guess for some people they do. Like, I don't know. Do you fry anything at home? Like I
Um,
usually just throw everything in an air fryer and maybe like spray it
we
with a
don't
little bit of
typically
olive
fry.
oil.
Yeah, we don't typically fry, but if you cook, so the one thing I do for my son, especially, I'll make him pancakes and I'll cook it in coconut oil
So why did you
because
choose coconut?
well, he's lactose intolerant, so he can't do
Okay.
butter. And
Well, you don't need butter, but you could
the
use almost
margarine, like the margarine cooks funny. It's
You don't
weird.
need to use margarine. I mean, that's not an option. Why don't you just use like those little spray canola oils or vegetable oils or rapeseed oils or any of that
I
stuff?
mean,
It has no taste.
it tastes weird with pancakes. I don't know.
Really?
It tastes
Like
it tastes
coconut, all the coconut oils when I used to do keto, they all have a very coconutty taste. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of
Well, I
disgusting.
mean, it's
Like you,
kind of sweet. I mean, it
it
tastes really
is.
good,
It
but is
tastes
the
very
saturated fat
tropical.
from coconut oil just as bad as like butter?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
It
meta-analyses
is.
on that too, but even they're called tropical fats, coconut oil, palmitic oil, um, certain ones that are called tropical fats. They're solid at room temperature. Anything that's solid at room temperature has way too much saturated fat in it.
Okay.
But don't get me wrong, like olive oil does have saturated fat in it. It's just not a lot. It's mostly poly and mono
Right.
unsaturated. Same
Same with
with canola,
avocado oil. Same with
avocado, all of them. Even butter, like butter is not all saturated fat. It's a lot, but it's not all. I mean, it has some poly
right.
and mono, but it's mostly saturated.
Right.
So I think that the marketing Like, I don't know who they're trying to appeal to, but it seems like they're trying to appeal to this anti-intellectualism, anti-vax, anti-science, anti-everything
Well, they're trying to combat what
people.
the woke, and to be and the again, this thing, depending on your ideology, either is like yeah or they're aghast, and they keep talking about the industry representatives who are overseeing it, but the old guidelines had industry. I mean, many of these nutrition studies are
Right, right.
industry funded, and
Absolutely. But
like
the funding generally for studies may or may not affect it. That's given. The problem with the guideline writing committee is there are like the cow farmers, lobby will pay a guy to like try to get them to say more milk and more cow. Then the vegetable people will be like try to make it more vegetarian. Like there's a lot of industry trying to influence people on the guidelines writing committee. I get that. No big deal. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. But you've got
it
people
is
from the plant side, the Soybean Farmers Association, the kale, whatever. You got the
right.
Cattle Ranchers Association trying to push more milk and butter and cow and whatever. You got the poultry, like Tyson Chicken pays for all that, stuff too. So I get that. But at the end of the day, that committee is a lot of scientists. They write the guidelines and study all this stuff and then send it to another committee that's even more independent that they're supposed to like edit it out and edit out like the stuff that's considered like more industry related. But at the end of the day, like the guidelines, I'd say for the last 30, 40 years have all been almost the same. Like, was there ever a guideline that said you should lather yourself up with lard and eat it? Like, no, I mean, this
No.
there's no guideline that says that, right?
Right, but I think there's a lot more, like you said, oh, our cholesterol 30 years ago was normal at 300, and LDL is no big deal, and you can eat and the carnivore
So
diet, and
it was never okay at 300. I think people say that, but
we
we've never
used to,
had a
now we keep,
guideline.
and industry keeps making it going down, and again, there's
Well,
this
it's
kind of like big pharma is, you guys are all shill for big pharma, and you just do everything, and who cares about LDL? And that's how I was for a while. Who cares about LDL? Until I, found out that I'm starting to get atherosclerosis in my right coronary artery, and that changed everything
right.
because I see how horrific a right-sided MI is as they
Yeah,
come to my
those
ICU
are terrible,
all the time,
and they're
and
not.
those are one of the worst I've ever seen, and continue to see, and it freaks me out. Same with acute stroke, freaks me out,
Yeah,
and
those are by far the worst.
and so I don't want that. I mean, when finally my primary's like, and I talked to you, and he's just like, dude, that your LDL's too high, and then he just said, LDL is what causes strokes, bro, and I just said, okay. I just broke down. I'm like, fine, right? And then it took me forever to go on the chicken and fish. I mean, okay. So when I can't swallow fish. I can't. It makes me gag.
Then don't eat
But
it. There's
I
a
will have
million
it
other
fried.
options.
I will have it fried in batter. That's the only way I can have it because it makes me otherwise gag. I can't do it. I
So
can't.
look, you don't actually have to eat fish. Like there's
But
no,
I'm eating
it's just
more
a
chicken,
lean
way more
source.
chicken, and yeah,
It's just a lean source of protein.
right.
Sure, there's some studies that show like if you eat a little more fish, that might be healthier, which is fine. There are studies that, but like poultry and all the substitution studies where they've looked at poultry, versus beef versus fish versus other types of protein, poultry has a neutral to slash beneficial effect on cardiovascular outcomes. So you could just do chicken or turkey or
Yeah. No,
ground
I'm
turkey or
much
ground
better. I'm
chicken,
much more
whatever.
chicken, and it's actually more filling. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm more filling. And then when I have yogurt, I have non-fat yogurt. It's not the same texture. It's not as good. I'll mix it with non-fat or 1% kefir to add a little bit more
Yeah.
probiotic and then liquid. But I mix it and I put some monk fruit in it, and then like blueberries or pure cocoa with monk
Raspberries,
fruit.
honey, even whatever. Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's a really great
So
dessert. And so it's my go-to every day. And then when I decide to have ice cream, I'm gonna have ice cream.
yeah,
Right?
just have it. It's not that big of a
Yeah, I
deal.
just
But
have it,
like
but I have to live. I have to have mental happiness every
and
once in
that's
a
what
while.
we want. That's what we want people to eat like a balanced diet. You can have the ice cream every once in a while,
Right.
whatever. It's not you got to be sane. Otherwise you can't follow the diet if it's too strict.
That's
So
right.
the same thing is with like there's another kind of yogurt, Greek yogurt called Fage, Fage. It
Yeah,
comes in
yeah,
0%. If you buy it like a fresh one, it has like almost no taste. It's pure fluffy white thick creamy protein.
yep.
If you put raspberries and blueberries and honey on it, it becomes like a amazing ice cream protein.
It
If you
really
put like
does.
if you put cilantro and squeeze a lime and some jalapenos in it, it becomes like a protein dip. I mean, it's just incredible. It
Yeah.
has like almost no taste. So I highly recommend that to people. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different ways to spin it. I think, but trying to always appeal to the anti-everything crowd is a losing game because they're going to catch on. Like, for how long are you going to tell people we're against, eating healthy and you got to eat butter and you got to like lather yourself up with lard and eat butter wrap bacon sticks and like, come on, people. Like, how stupid do you think we are? Like, the American public is generally very literate and very smart. I think it's a matter of time before they realize that, who are these people fooling? Like, what are they trying to accomplish?
Well, but I think if they start pushing more saturated fat, we're going to get more heart disease, don't you think?
Oh,
We're going to get more heart disease.
I don't need to think that. We already know that.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
that's given.
we're going to get more heart disease.
That's not a question.
I was very happy about the issue about added sugar, where they're teaching you. Read the label. Look at when they have oats, maltose, xylitol, lactose, dextrose, and I mean some of the monk fruit thing. That's why I try to stay with pure monk fruit. But they add sugar into everything, and they're teaching you. Look at the label. Read, turn it over, and read
But
how many
no, and
added sugars you have, and how many you're
I
supposed to have in a day. Nobody like I look at people even now. They walk in the morning. They have their frappuccino or their mochaccino, whatever, and they have a scone or a muffin, that's like 150 grams of sugar in the morning. In the
okay.
morning,
So just
before
so
they
you
even
know.
have lunch and breakfast. And like, oh my God, you guys, what are you doing?
So look, I agree with you that no one is recommending eating lots of processed anything, right? Like, you shouldn't be eating Oreos and Doritos and, a Little Debbie snack cakes all the time, right?
Right, right.
Because no one recommends that. That's never been a recommendation. And it's good that they re-emphasize that. But just so you know, like, sugar in and of itself is not toxic or harmful to humans. Like, these guys are always like anti-sugar, like, don't ever eat sugar. Like, they celebrated Coca-Cola switching from sugar to cane sugar or some nonsense like that. It's some big win for them. They celebrate these dumb things, like literally the difference between the sugar in normal Coca-Cola versus their new cane sugar. Instead of it being sucrose, glucose 55, 45, now it's like 52, 47 or whatever. Like,
Really?
it's not that different, but they're celebrating it as like this massive
Yeah,
win for
but sugar is
humanity.
not satiating, and it's a very
No,
high, it's very
but
calorie
Hisham, but like
dense,
what I'm
and
saying
it's
is,
not satiating.
I agree, but I'm saying, like, the way that, and then like the red dye thing, Doritos now, instead of telling people don't eat Doritos, they're like, well, Doritos needs to be, you need to take the red dye 40 out of Doritos. Okay, we'll use red dye 35. Is that okay? Like, they're celebrating the dumbest things as if we're like stupid. Like, it's very insulting to our intelligence to switch the sugar from Coke to cane, or not. They didn't even like stop Coke from making regular sugar Coke. They
No, they
totally
make sugar
add
drinks. Yeah.
they just added another one. like like now you could buy normal Coke with sucrose, table sugar, or for the connoisseurs, you could buy cane sugar Coke. Like, what on earth? Like, that's not a huge like victory. That's stupid. That's just adding another more sugary drink to our availability of drinks. But like, just so you know, sugar may not be filling, and all that what you said is true, but sugar in and of itself is not toxic. Like, humans need sugar to live. Like, your
Yeah.
body needs glucose. It's the number one
Yeah.
like energy source for humans, so much so that you have a backup system to make it. Like, if you never eat sugar, your gluconeogenesis system and all that can make sugar so you don't die.
Right.
So you can't,
But
and then
you can get
athletes.
sugar from a can of Coke, or you can get sugar from an apple
Absolutely. And I'm not
or a
arguing that
mango.
at all.
Uh,
I'm not arguing that at all. But to
yeah.
your stomach, when you drink the Coke or when you eat the mango, the sugars, the carbs, let's just call them carbs, scientifically they're carbohydrates, they all break down into either monosaccharides, polysaccharides, or disaccharides. Like, when they get to your bloodstream, your body doesn't know that monosaccharide started out in an apple versus a Coke, right? So
Hmm.
I'm not saying that to like tell you they're equivalent. They are not. Drinking your sugar and calories is way different than eating it in an apple coated in fiber and other nutrients and all the other good parts, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they try to vilify these things to like make it look like they had some great victory or were fighting these anti, processed food people, which is all great. But again, like they're just fooling. They think we're stupid. Like they think they're fooling us, and they think they're doing us a huge favor by switching the red dye from 40 to 35, the sugar to cane sugar, the fat to another fat. Like I mean, it's still a bunch of nonsense. I mean, I don't know. They must think like the American people are so dumb that if they do these things, we're just going to be like, yeah, what a great victory. Like I don't understand what they're.
We stuck it to the man, right? But
Yeah, we stuck it
they
to big
still, but there's
pharma,
good.
even though they're being paid by big pharma. Like the food and agriculture industry is paying RFK to do all this nonsense. Like he's on their payroll. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand like
I mean,
the
it's good to say, limit added sugar. Try not to have sugary beverages, which is good. Like, yeah, I had patients, sleep patients that are sleep apnea, and they have horrible sleep apnea, and I'm like, how much Coke do you drink? I don't not pick on Coke, but how much soda do you drink in a day? They're like, 2 liters. Oh my God,
oh
that's like,
god,
look at how many. I mean, well, that's why you are
2 liters
obese. That's
is
why
like
you have
5,000 calories, maybe. That's
uh-huh.
a lot.
That's not satiating. So,
No,
and they add
I mean
sugar
it is
into
satiating
everything.
after a certain
Everything.
extent.
Why do you have to have sugar in ketchup, barbecue sauce, Chick-fil-A? People love it. Why? I could taste it. Once I switched from sucralose and aspartame to monk fruit and stevia, I can taste the sugar and things where I couldn't before. So when I have
So look,
Chick-fil-A,
monk
I
fruit
can
and stevia
tell.
are essentially they're just normal sugars. I mean, I don't know if they're just
Yeah,
fooling
but
you
they're
with their
not the
marketing,
same.
but
They're not like, again, they're not
sucralose
like,
is Splenda, and it's 0 calorie.
it's zero
White
calorie.
sugar,
Yeah.
yeah, and monk fruit and stevia, they're the same thing. They're still mostly sugar. I mean, I don't know,
Hmm.
they're just fooling you. But either way, like I don't think that is a major I mean, it is a major contributor to some people, but I don't think that is like no one is debating whether or not you should be like having added sugar. Like I don't think no guideline has ever, even since the 1940s, ever said if you're going to have carbs, please drink it as Coca-Cola, like, or eat more Doritos. Like no guideline has
Yeah,
ever said that.
but they did villainize fat. The sugar
Well,
companies
yes,
villainized fat, right?
that is not true, actually. I know there was this dentist that said they paid
No,
off
it
these
was in the New
Harvard
England Journal of
scientists.
Medicine. It was published in JAMA. They
I know
they
it was in the
they
New England
talked
Journal of
about
Medicine.
how they paid these researchers to
So first of all,
downplay the dangers of sugar.
most of that story is false. It was a dentist that published an article in the New England Journal of Medicine saying that these 3 Harvard scientists were paid off to make fat look bad and not sugar look bad. That is not true. It's some crazy dentist that came up with the story. I have a whole chapter on that whole episode in my book. That has nothing to do with the facts on the ground. That was like, 50 years ago. The thing is, these people like keep hearkening back to these studies from the 1950s when we have recent data. That's 70 years ago, 76 years ago now. We have studies from now. You don't have to go back to 1952 and 1958 and all these conspiracy theories about scientists being paid off by the government or food industry or the sugar industry or Harvard or whatever. Like that's just nonsense. That's a bunch of noise. It sounds really good, like rah rah, yeah, we're gonna fight back. Like that is just something to keep us distracted with the real problem. Saturated fat and sugar and all these things, they've been studied. Do you think science stopped in 1958, when they did that study? There's
No,
76 more years of data on sugar and saturated fat and nutrition and food and substitution studies and cohort studies and randomized control trials and epidemiological, observational data. Like we have a lot of studies since that nonsense happened, if it happened in 1952 or whatever they're saying. I mean, we don't need to go back to 1952 and follow some weird conspiracy theory about the sugar industry paying off scientists or the USRDA or whatever. That just makes no sense. Like we have actual data. Then we don't need to wait, go back 70 years because data and science has advanced. It didn't stop in 1952 or whatever.
yeah,
So I think that's just another one of these things that they try to rile us up and get us excited about some weird conspiracy theory that may or may not have really happened. It was published by a random dentist and there was no evidence that it was actually true. And it's just a bunch of nonsense. And even if it was true, let's assume 100% it was true. That was 76 years ago. Like we have new data. We don't need to worry about it. Like we can do other studies. Like if you don't like it, do your own study. Like it's not that hard.
yeah.
So I
But
think
there's,
a lot of it
yeah,
is like misdirection to try to just to get us to hyper focus on some nonsense that's not necessary.
right. And the other thing that's really good about these guidelines is the limiting alcohol intake. And it's so interesting when I see nutritionists and they talk about alcohol. It's they're, they can, like, these people can be so ideological about the saturated fat, and oh my God, I can't believe this. And then when it comes to alcohol, everybody's kind of quiet and yeah, no. When it's clear as day. Alcohol is a carcinogen. It is a neurotoxin. It is a cardiotoxin. It is a hepatotoxin. It harms the gut and the stomach and the liver and the pancreas. I mean, it is not good for you. It is not good for you. And then the Cancer Society say, don't even start if you don't. Now, full disclosure, my reason to abstaining from alcohol is not a health reason. I have a religious reason to stay away from alcohol.
All religions tell you to stay away from alcohol, by the way.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, some of my most strict Christian friends who are Lutheran and, whatever, they say in the Bible, and I never confirm this, but they say, like, in the Bible says, don't drink alcohol. Like, I mean, maybe their version of it, I don't know.
Yeah,
But some of my strictest
I'm
Christian
not
friends
sure
do
about
that. So
that,
I
but
think,
so
well,
there's
I mean, that's what
so
they tell me.
I have a bias from the beginning against alcohol, but and now the research is vindicating the stance to not start at all. But when it
Right.
comes to
So,
alcohol, it's like, well,
so here's the other
because
here's the other
a
funny
lot of
thing that
people
these,
like to drink alcohol. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's way down compared to what it was, when we were growing up. Like,
I think that's great. I see the devastation of alcohol in my
absolutely.
practice every day, every day.
Right, in the ICU, obviously, and we see those patients too with cardio, myopathy from alcohol.
Yeah.
But the latest data on alcohol, and everyone agrees, is like not even a drop is considered safe. Not only is it a carcinogen, but if well, you already mentioned it's a carcinogen. It contributes to a lot of cancers. Obesity, alcohol, and smoking contribute to, I think, 65 or 70% of all cancers, I guess. Oh, and viruses. Alcohol, obesity, smoking, and viruses contribute to, I think, like 70 or 80% of all
Of all
cancers.
cancers. Wow.
Those are
Yeah.
all modifiable things. You could not,
Yep.
drink or get those viruses, just get vaccinated, whatever. But the thing that I don't like about the way they commented about this is they just said try to reduce alcohol intake. Like, why don't you give us a number? Like maybe zero, or like not even one drink a week is considered okay. Like, what is the serving size, or like, what do you mean? They were very non-specific. And then Dr. Oz, unfortunately, he was part of this writing committee. They interviewed him. They're like, Dr. Oz, what is it? What are you talking about, the alcohol? And he's like, well, you should drink a little bit less, but it's a social lubricant. Sometimes you should drink it.
Well, that's the thing.
Like,
You see,
what the
they
hell's he
don't because
saying?
so many people drink alcohol. They want it to makes them relax, and it's such a part of our culture. It's such a part of our culture that no one likes to talk about the fact that it is killing people. It is causing cancer. It is causing cancer. I mean, when I in medical school, I learned that if you when you drink and smoke at the same time, the alcohol is dissolving the carcinogens into is taking the carcinogens in the cigarette and the cigar smoke or the cigarette smoke and dissolving them and then enhancing delivery into the tissues, which is why the classic the cigar and the brandy or whatever, those are the people that get those horrific upper airway head and neck cancers that
And
are
mouth.
just
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the mouth and the throat that are just horrible. They're really horrible. Like
No, those are
the,
definitely the worst cancers to get.
one of the worst to get if and along with lung cancer, because lung cancer, my uncle, God rest his soul, he passed away from lung cancer, right?
Yeah,
When it was diagnosed, he was metastatic already. Like that's the
yeah.
devastation of lung cancer. And it's like the thing about alcohol is that it's such a part of our culture and who we are as a people. For most of us, most people, it's getting less, and I'm so happy about that. And so it's just people they're uncomfortable talking about it. That really, not even one drop is safe. Like not even one
No,
drop
but
is safe.
I wish that he, Dr. Oz, would have said, "Hey, look, no alcohol, no amount of alcohol is safe." Like, why wouldn't you just say that? They're asking you, they're questioning you about the new guidelines. They asked you a specific question about alcohol. Why wouldn't you give them a number? Like, just say no
Oh man,
amount is considered safe,
there's a
right?
lot of pressure, man.
They
There's a lot of
didn't.
pressure from the alcohol industry. I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
guess.
I'm sure. I mean, this is a
I
major
mean, I
threat to
believe
their
it, but I
business.
mean, like if you're the new guy that's
But
in
I'm
charge of like
speculating.
health,
I don't want to get in trouble. I'm speculating,
yeah.
but I know I was reading a while back in the Wall Street Journal that the alcohol industry is like looking to fund studies to counter the narrative. I just remember reading that. I don't want to get in trouble by the alcohol industry. I'm just saying there's a lot of
How on
societal
earth could you possibly get in trouble by the alcohol industry?
I don't know, man. Who
Like
knows? I
what?
don't know.
Why do we believe in such weird conspiracy theories? Like there's no alcohol
Well,
industry dude that's gonna come and be like, Dr.
I'm
Hasabala, you're
misinformation.
going down, bro.
I'm pilfering
We're
misinformation.
gonna
Isn't that
take
right?
you down. Like what? You're an ICU doctor that takes care of really sick people. It's really
Yeah,
not.
who are afflicted by the devastation of alcohol. I
Absolutely.
see it all the time. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was happy about that. I was
But
like,
I
great.
wish I'm glad that they said you should reduce your intake, but I wish they would have quantified it like, hey, this is no amount is safe, or maybe drink once a year or something. Like I don't know,
Well,
but
the
just
cancer
leaving it
the
vague,
Cancer
leaving
Society
it
says no amount is safe, but this,
I
yeah,
agree. And the World Health Organization and Dr.
yep.
Allo's Association. But like all these groups, like almost in every one of my books, I list all like there's a longevity book and a cholesterol book, obviously, but they all talk about the dangers of alcohol, how it's carcinogenic and it's a cardiotoxic and hepatotoxic and
Yep.
neurotoxic, Alzheimer's, like all that stuff from just straight up alcohol. And they left it almost really vague, like, hey, I just try to reduce your intake. Like reduce from what and reduce to what? Like what if I drink 10 glasses a day of whatever? Should I
If I
reduce it
go
to
to 9, is
one?
that better? Yeah. No,
Yeah, or like
I
if I
agree.
drink one a week, should I is that good? Like what reduce what? Like how much? I wish they just would have been a little more specific on that
Because
one.
alcohol is complicated. It's very complicated in our culturally. Culturally, I mean,
But I mean,
it's
like I've noticed, like like when I was in high school, all my friends were like, "Hey, let's go, dude! My parents are out of
me,
town. I got the
me
keys to the
too,
wine cellar."
me too.
But like
High
now,
school
nobody
and
does that.
college.
No kids in college in high school that I know are like, "Hey, parents are out of town. Let's get together and get drunk." Like nobody does that. It's not like culturally
That's
acceptable.
fantastic.
And corporations used to have like these big Christmas parties or whatever parties, and they'd have like unlimited alcohol. They don't do that anymore. It's actually considered taboo because like you're going to a corporate event and you're drinking, like you're gonna act like
I
an
don't
idiot.
know.
You,
A
you're
lot of
gonna
my
act a
corporate
fool.
events have drinking.
You're
A
gonna
lot
act
of
a
my
fool,
corporates still have
bro.
drinking. A lot still, and even
Really,
if
that's
and
weird.
there's a growing non-alcoholic market like
Oh
Athletic
yeah,
Brewing Company. I wish I would have invested a long time ago. Athletic Brewing
athletic.
Company and all of the companies, they have really good non-alcoholic options. De-alcoholized wine is a huge market and only growing. So there is an alternative if you don't want to drink grape juice, you want to have wine that doesn't have alcohol. There is. There is that available and very good beers that have no alcohol. Very good beers that have no alcohol. So there
Yeah,
is
I
an
mean, beer
alternative. It
to
just
me just smells and tastes disgusting. I've tried some of those like non-alcoholic. They all taste like fermented urine. I mean, I'm just not
I like some
like
of them. Some of them are really
I
good.
don't
Some of
really
them are
care
really good.
for it at
Lagunitas makes a
all.
really
So
good, yeah.
I don't care for it at all.
Lagunitas makes a really good IPNA. Modelo, I was surprised, had a really good one. Corona had a really good one. So I've
But don't
tried the
forget, like some
de-alcoholized
of them
ones.
do have some amount of alcohol in them. Like there's
Mm,
0.5%.
some do, yeah.
Just make sure that if you're drinking one of these that there's nothing in it because that
Right.
0.5% can add up,
It can. It can. Yeah.
especially if you're drinking like two or
That's
three.
true.
So just make sure there's not much in there. So anyways, yeah, I don't know. I think that overall, if you actually read the guidelines, probably okay. But if you're just
That's
going
what I'm
by the
saying.
marketing and the picture,
You have to read the
but
guideline.
no
Like
one
that's you
reads.
have
No
to
one
read.
reads. No one reads. That's a problem. Like they're gonna see
We
that
have to start reading. We have to start reading. We have to
we
start
love to
taking the
read.
label and turning around and look at the label and see what are you putting in your
Look,
body. There's this
people like
big thing
us.
about vaccines and my body, my choice. But then you just go and you just open a beer and just down it, or you take a package, you open
No,
the
no,
package, you
I
just eat
agree
it.
with you. There is a
Read.
level. There are people, and I'm assuming you and I are some of them that read a lot, and we're
Yeah.
very educated. We read studies, we read books, all day. I go on Amazon Prime Day and I buy a ton of books and I read them. So I mean, we're very educated, but I think that the average person is not going to read the 400-page document that comes with it. They're going to
No,
look at that
we don't want them.
triangle.
I want them to read the executive summary that was like 5 pages long.
I know,
It
but they're
wasn't
gonna
that
look at
bad.
that triangle. They're gonna look at that triangle and say ribeyes, double cheeseburgers, yes. Like that's all they're gonna see. Like, right? I mean, where was like the salmon or like the little
I thought
chicken
there was
breast?
fish on it. I have to look back. I thought there was
I don't know.
fish
I'll
on
have
it.
to look. I don't remember that, but I just remember
Maybe
big,
I'll flash it up on
fatty.
the I'll
Yeah, put
flash
it
it
up
up
on
on the
there.
video
I
and
don't
after
remember it.
editing.
Maybe I'll Google it or something. But basically, it's like ribeyes and double cheeseburgers is what I. So that and then the pizza, because there's a lot of cheese. You eat a lot of pizza. The number one source of saturated fat in the U.S. is actually pizza.
Really?
But
Really? More than
it's
beef?
pizza.
More than
Yeah,
huh,
because of the cheese.
interesting.
Um, but yeah, I mean anything, and then anything obviously with butter in it, like. But people don't eat a lot of butter in the U.S. But butter and cheese are the two main culprits, and usually the
Mm,
cheese is from pizza.
yeah. Okay. So we'll end with me. So I've been taking rosuvastatin and ezetimibe.
Hmm.
It's again my LDL is now 37, 39, something like that, very low.
Good.
My For the last two times I checked, my fasting glucose was 100. I went cut down big time on my saturated fat intake, poultry, non-fat milk, which my family couldn't believe it, but I'm trying the best I can. Non-fat milk, non-fat yogurt, with my coffee. Try to avoid saturated fat. And my most recent fasting glucose went down to 91 from 100 over
Still
three
insulin
months ago.
resistant. Do you take
Yeah,
anything like metformin or anything?
I don't, not yet, no.
You probably should.
And then but the A1C, my A1C is still the same. It didn't
What is
change
it?
over the 3 months. It was
What's your A1C?
5.5. It's not any different,
Oh yeah,
which I was a
so
little bummed about. I was a little bummed. I'm
you
like,
could
okay. I mean, I thought with all this that I'm trying to
A1C
do,
A1C obviously there's some lag there for A1C, but I don't know. I mean, if your fasting glucose is always running in the 90s and your A1C is 5.5, you could argue. I mean, there's no data or guidelines that are going to recommend this, but if you're just into living longer, longevity, and being able to be a little bit more um, loose, I guess, with your food choices, you could just take a metformin of 500 once or twice a day, and your A1C would probably drop into the 4.8, 4.9 range. You'll probably lose a little bit of weight. That would improve your insulin resistance and sensitivity. And by a little more loose with your food, I don't mean like, you know, just downing ice cream every day, but I mean
yeah,
like you
no. I
wouldn't
mean, I
have to
wouldn't
be.
change. I mean, I have ice cream every once in a while. I'll have,
Yeah,
but
you wouldn't have to be so
basically that's it.
crazy. Like you wouldn't have to. So like the biggest thing is being in a calorie maintenance mode or deficit. If you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, if you're in a
Right.
calorie deficit, you lose a little bit of weight, that'll come down, almost regardless, just because you're just not eating as much.
Yeah.
The 99 will come down to, lower. I don't know how much weight you have to lose, or if you don't have any to lose, I don't know. But if you
No,
were to lose
I have
five,
weight to lose. I have weight to lose. I'm just trying to. I
if you
really
lose
don't want to
five to
get.
10%, if you lose five to
I
ten
don't want
percent
to
of
be
your body
diabetic.
weight.
I'm really scared about getting diabetic.
So look,
Like,
I feel you, but it's genetic, right? Your mom or your dad had it and they gave you the genes. Me too. One of my parents has it, and if I were to gain a lot of weight or not put on muscle or let things go, my A1C would creep up. I think it did creep up at one point, but I just
yeah.
leaned out, ate less, lost weight, and I think it's like 5.1 maybe. I don't know. I haven't checked in a while,
Okay.
but it got down to like whatever. I think it was the most mine was like 5.6 or 5.7. I was never
Mm,
like pre-diabetic, but I know it had creeped up. I started doing a keto diet, sort of like what you did for a while. And I know saturated fat in and of itself, I was doing like the whole thing you were talking about, coconut oil on everything and butter and whole milk and all that. And I did actually gained weight and my numbers all worsened. You'd lose weight
yeah.
for a little bit, like any new diet, you lose weight for a little bit and then your body figures out what the hell you're doing and just kind of creeps back up.
Right.
So
Right.
I was never like morbidly obese or super obese. I don't think my BMI was ever more than like 27 or 26
Hmm.
maybe. But still I was not muscular. So now I've lost weight, built muscle, I'm leaner, more muscular, and I haven't checked my A1C recently, but I know it got down back into like a 5.1 range or something like that.
Yeah.
So it is
I'm just
genetic. So a
trying to.
lot of
Yeah.
my patients sometimes are like terrified to eat food and gain weight and build muscle. Like they're like, I want to work out, but they're like starving themselves just because they don't end up with diabetes. They end up getting really thin, really frail, really weak, can't do anything. Like frailty in and of itself is a problem. You don't want to also get so frail that you can't do anything. or you're
Right.
afraid to eat like one extra, whatever that day because you might gain an extra pound or half an ounce or whatever. So I think there's a delicate balance between staying sane in terms of like how you live and how much you eat or don't eat, and using pharmacotherapeutics or medications, whatever, to just keep you at a safe level. Because the reason they picked 5.7 as the A1C cutoff for prediabetes, that's when you start to see increases and changes in mortality and morbidities.
Hmm.
So you
Okay.
might,
I mean, so I'm happy with the new, cutting saturated fat's fine. I'm non-fat. I'm used to it. It's fat appetite. It's not. There is fat-free skim milk, fat-free half and half, but they put in corn syrup to thicken it, and then it's way
yeah,
more caloric than skim milk.
the
So I don't know
calories are
where
going to
those
be
extra
much higher.
calories are coming from. They put
It's
in
the
corn
fat.
syrup and
It's the fat
carrageenan and all this other stuff.
thickeners and
Maybe,
stuff like that.
yeah. So it's way more
Look, I
because
mean,
I
I think if
compared
you're
like
putting
a
like a,
cup
if
of
you're putting
that.
like, yeah, a cup of that's
Uh,
gonna be a lot. If you're putting like a tablespoon of half and half in your coffee every day just to stay sane and your LDL is already like 38, I mean, that's not gonna be a problem. You'll be
Yeah,
fine.
well, I'm just trying to again because once you start giving an inch here, then you give an inch there, and
Right. True.
I'm trying to, it's if it's a lifestyle change, I'm gonna make a lifestyle change, right? Otherwise, if today I'll have half and half, and tomorrow I won't. It's just, you know what? I just got to get used to it, and now I'm used to it. I have chicken. I haven't had a burger. Well, when I was in California, it was In and Out. I couldn't help it. I had to have it. I had to have an
I
In and Out
ate it
burger.
just to say I tried it. I was in San Diego and I was like, I've never eaten an In-N-Out before. Let me try it. But my favorite burger, to be honest with you, is Portillo's. You're lucky
Really,
you have
Portillo's.
Portillo's. Oh
Portillo's
yeah.
hits the spot, but there's way better. Listen, when you're in Chicago,
No, man, I've
hit
tried
me
them
up,
all.
man. Hit
I've
me
tried
up,
them
man.
all.
I'll show you some.
Where
I'll show you
where
some
which
good
one do
burgers.
you like? What do you like?
My favorite burger in Chicago is a place in the suburbs. It's called Fuller House, and they have this thing called a West Coast burger. It's phenomenal. It's so good.
So I'll tell you like why I like the Portillo's one because it's actually cooked on a flame and it tastes charred. Like it tastes like it was really cooked on a
Yeah,
flame, and it is. It is cooked on a flame. There's that little burner with the flames shooting up at
yep,
it, and it goes through the thing. That's why I like it. All the other burgers I've tried, they just cook it in a skillet, and it's not good. Or I cook it
yeah,
myself here at home on my own grill, and we don't do that a
right,
lot. And we don't eat burgers a lot, obviously, because we're not crazy. But if I'm gonna have one, it better be like really, really good. So I usually just make
right,
my own.
right. Yeah, I haven't had it in a long time. I'm just used to chicken now, and that's
Yeah, I
how it
mean, we
is. I mean,
mostly eat chicken, salmon, tuna,
yeah,
whatever, sushi.
yep, yep. Well, Dr. Malo, it's been a pleasure to have you again, and definitely come back. I like to talk about this kind of stuff with you. When things come up, check him out on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. He has a wealth of information. I'll check out his books, check out his website. He's a great guy, America's cardiologist. My friend, Dr. Allo, thanks for coming on the show.
Likewise, thanks for having me.